The Beargrass one, you painted on site up on
Yeah.
what mountain?
Yeah. On Silver Star.
Silver Star Mountain, and you were there with your parents camping. You said
Where?
you were with your parents camping, right?
Yeah. I was, I was living in Cannon Beach, and I think we were married, I believe, and Jessica probably was already born. But anyway, they were going to. It was in the spring, and they were going to take a trip, a couple days off, and get out of Ridgefield and go out camping, which is something my mother never ever
No, she wasn't
had any
Oh.
interest in doing. But anyway, they wanted to do it, and so they invited me along, and so I left Mom and everybody at Cannon Beach and drove out to Ridgefield, and we drove up to Silver Star Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was quite an experience. We just stayed 2 nights, maybe, perhaps, but it was beautiful. It was all the flowers are coming up. These kind of flowers, wildflowers, and the mountains and everything there, and the big trees and odds and ends were just really pretty nice.
Yeah.
So it was a fun time.
And being with your parents and
I did 4 or 5 paintings there. I mean, just fast ones.
yeah.
This one was more, by far the best. The others were all pretty, not as nice. But and I decided I'm not going to sell that painting. I'm going to hang on to that one, And
Yeah, that's
so people wanted to buy it. I said, no, it's not for sale. And I kept it that way. And finally, what did I do? Let's see. I was going to give it. Well, actually, what I did is I gave it to my dad after my mother died, and Dad was in the trailer in Vancouver, the double wide trailer. I gave it to him for a Christmas present or something like that, or whatever, or birthday present, or whatever.
And then Fred.
So he had, and then Fred snitched it.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize Fred had possession of it, and I was kind of wondering whatever happened to him.
Yeah.
And one day I went to Cannon Beach and I went over to Fred's place, and he wasn't there, and I went in anyway, and here was the painting hanging on the wall, and I said, aha, I found the painting. So
Rascal.
Fred wasn't there, and I just grabbed the painting, and
You
I
just
think I
took
might
it?
have left a little message or something, but I've taken my painting back. Fred's never forgiven me for it. I keep coming back to the question, which we all three are involved in, is why do people create things? I can't answer that question. You have this urge to sketch or paint or whatever you're doing, and
You can only speak
what's
for
the
yourself.
purpose of it? Are you trying to impress somebody, or are you trying to show that you're a good painter, or you're an artist, or whatever? It's maybe partially, I guess, or you need the money, so you go
Yeah.
people do different things for creating purposes, and why do we do it? And it's a kind of why do people write books? Why do people compose music? Why do people play music? And all these different things, and it's real interesting to kind of think about it, because I don't normally. I think a creative person doesn't really think about it. You just do it.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
Yeah. But on the other hand, you read about famous painters who painted the Mona Lisa or whatever, for a reason, gave them the money probably or whatever.
They were commissioned in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Da Vinci didn't even really like painting. Maybe he just had no other choice because he wasn't good at farming or something.
Right in this place here, I've got over 100 sketches. A stack of sketches. Not all of them are good, most of them aren't, but there's some that are. And what's going to happen to all these when I die? They're just going to be thrown in the garbage, and like everybody else does. When a person dies, you have to throw away 9/10 of their stuff.
True.
It doesn't mean anything to the person who's already dead. So
Yeah. That's right.
And I'm kind of thinking that way. But on the other hand, still you just get the urge just to sit down and do something.
Well, if you like to do it, then you just do it because that's why. Yeah.
But the question is, why do you like to do it? That's
Because it's fun.
I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it is fun.
I think you do it for the challenge. I do it for the challenge, you know, of doing it. I've got that video, that piano, that electric piano, and I play that thing, and I can play it without anybody hearing it, so I can just fiddle around with it, and I really enjoy doing it just because there's a challenge of trying to get your fingers to do what they're supposed to do up here, and then go over here, get two things going at the same time, and it's a challenge. I like that challenge, but it doesn't always work, and oftentimes.
I mean, imagine having to do that on stage and you're just bungling your way through it and wondering if you're going to do it right or not, but it doesn't matter because you're not doing it.
Well, it doesn't, yeah.
Do you want to put a show together someday?
Show together?
Yeah.
Well, that'd be interesting, yeah, I wouldn't mind it. But I don't really want to sell them. I went through that Cannon Beach time where I was trying to make a living at it, and it wasn't, it worked out all right, but wasn't. I got burned out. I felt like I told I feel like I turned into a machine. I told Mom, it just isn't fun anymore. It's just a job now, and I bailed out of painting and went into stonework and their house building a little bit and whatever, that kind of thing.
Mom never forgave you.
Yeah. Barbara Grant was so upset with me, just because I said, well, Barbara, people don't want to have to do the same thing all their life. They can go into something else if they want to or have to or whatever.
It does. And
Right. Last time I saw Barbara, I didn't want to say anything to her about it because she, did a lot of painting, and she doesn't now, at all.
No, she doesn't.
And I was gonna, I want to say to her, there, Barbara, now do you see that, you asked me why, now you're doing the same thing, and now maybe that, you do things for me.
Well, her capacities are different
Yeah,
than
I know.
yours.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything bad to her.
No, that would be horrible.
But Barbara got pretty mad at me a time or two, because I was, and Daisy too, actually.
Yeah. But it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
When you're a creative person
yeah.
or whatever, it's your juices flowing, and nobody can force them in any direction but you.
Mm-hmm.
It's nobody else's business.
And, I had an experience when I was working at LL Bean for one Christmas, and I had this one test they gave you in order to work there, and I couldn't do it. I used to be able to do it, but I couldn't do it. You have to lift a 50-pound box up over your head and put it on a shelf. And I could do it, but you can't stand on your, and you can't do it if you can't do it. You just have to go up and do it. Like that. And I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So they said, we don't want you. You fired. We don't need you.
Wow.
they didn't say
do
you
the job.
fired.
But,
They put you in a different role and stuff.
Yeah.
and I got really depressed,
Yeah.
and so they said, you might as well just quit right now, just pack up your stuff and go home, and we'll pay you,
The thing is that they made him, they found another job for him, and so there weren't too many things left, and one of them was monogramming, bath towels and things like that, which is all computerized.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
And that was
That didn't work.
Mhm.
So he had to leave.
But the thing is, I went home that day, and I was really depressed, and got home and I thought, well, God, I just really feel like I just don't like to have something that I'm not be able to do, well, and I got to thinking, so I just went into the back bedroom, the north room, and had all this stack of sketches and paintings and things all over. I said, I could, I can't maybe do what they want me to do, but I can do what I want to do, And so it kind of got me out of my depression just by.
Wow.
They wouldn't be able to sketch like you can.
What?
They wouldn't be able to
No.
sketch like you can.
Right, yeah.
Especially that guy that ran the monogramming machine.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
It was this awful.
Yeah.
But
Treated you like an idiot if you couldn't.
So somehow that kind of think of that as a reason raison d'etre. You know,
Oh, I'm
just a
sorry, I
reason.
just closed that up. I thought you were.
Why do you sketch? Why do you paint? Why do you write? Why do you
Well, I think
make
everyone
music? Why do
wants
you do all these things?
to show themselves and possibly everyone else that they are capable of doing something that they feel confident at doing.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And,
And something that maybe that everybody else can't do,
Yeah,
or not everybody
yeah.
else can do.
I don't have the driving passion to create art, honestly.
Yeah, but don't you feel like, you know, if you're doing something and you're, you know, it's a project, whatever, a book or whatever you're doing, and you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about that book and what you need to do next or what correct or whatever, that, you know, it's a challenge to you.
Is it more busy
Yeah.
work, Sally? Having something to do with your hands and that
Well,
sort of
maybe that'd
thing?
be part of it, yeah.
I find it pretty easy to quell those urges, unfortunately. So,
Don't
I mean,
you-
I go through phases.
But don't you get to, you know, if you get good at something, don't you feel like you need to go on to something else, slightly different, or another step, you know, rather than just settle there for the rest of your life?
I
You know,
think
you
I,
see some artists' work, it looks like they've never
Yeah.
changed from a teenager to an old
right, and
person.
they fell into a niche and just stayed there forever. Yeah, I mean, I hope I don't do that, but I also just don't feel like that passionate drive to create art all the time. Like, and people assume that of you when you claim to be an artist. That
I
you
think-
must just be
I
driven
think
by
Roger-
this passion and
I
Yeah.
think
how much
have
like
that
during the
passion
pandemic you must have
to
just been
keep
cranking
doing
art
that.
out because you didn't have to go to work. And actually, the
And
whole
try
year of the
something-
pandemic, or the first year of the
I've
pandemic,
always thought that.
I didn't even
Yeah.
draw at all.
To
I
try
didn't
to
have
do
any
Such
interest.
a driven person, you're not
And,
in it for the money or anything. You're
It
just
didn't even
doing
cross my
because
mind.
It
you know?
has to
It
come
wasn't.
out.
Yeah, I just give paintings.
It wasn't that I got too busy doing
Yeah,
other
I know,
things.
you
I didn't
just-
even
Because
didn't want
it's
to,
in
you
you
know?
and you have
Yeah.
to do it.
I don't know why.
And it's not there
But,
because
you know, like with
I
in
want
my
to be a
situation,
famous
there
artist
was,
one day or whatever.
20 or
You know,
30
so many
years I
people
didn't
think
do any
they have to be
artwork at all.
famous.
Right. And did you miss
Well,
it?
I'm trying to
at the time?
monopolize
But I
more
like
too.
kept telling Mom, it's
And-
what I'm doing is just
Yeah.
Because you kind of get
Yeah.
off track where you want to make
Yeah.
money and so get back to
Stones
it.
And that's the thing when you're,
Just for myself.
like,
Mhm.
I think I'm more like you
Try to
as
do
an
that
artist.
more.
Like,
Yeah.
and people want to put you in
Yeah.
a certain pigeonhole or box. You know,
Unfortunately,
you're a painter. That's what
we
you have
all
to
need to
be.
have
Yeah.
But
And
no, I'm
that's-
just
in
a
order to
creative
live.
person. I like to.
That's the way Barbara
Yeah.
Yeah.
was treating
She
me.
should have
It's a
known
matter of
better,
having
you know.
time to do
But,
it.
Mhm.
but like, you know, the whole year
Yeah.
that I wasn't drawing,
My last
I
job was
was
good because I only
working in my
worked
garden
6
and
hours a
making
day, so I
fences,
could
you
do
know,
So you
elaborate
have
bamboo
to-
fences, and that
But
was
gardening, to do that
just as
Creative
satisfying
is-
for me.
is-
Yeah. And I was driven by that. I'd just be thinking
But
about it all the
then
time, and I'd want to be
creating
out there
all
every
this
And you
minute.
wake up in the morning
Then
and
what
do you
you're
do
all
with
excited
it?
about
Rush
what
outside
you
and
did
it's
start
yesterday.
yeah, yeah.
And
And
Well, these
you
are
go out and
small.
stare at it for hours.
I know,
and like
compared to you,
consider the
but I mean,
angles.
so
in-
happy
you know,
about
and
it.
Yeah.
also
So that was the
ends
same
up
thing.
with a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
That's
And
exactly
that's
what
what
I'm
you do.
Yeah.
do with it. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I do feel that way about drawing sometimes when
Goes
I'm
into the-
interested in a project.
the
But then other projects I
trash
do
bin
because
history
someone's
or
painting
whatever.
me, and I just do them and churn them
toss it
out,
out
and
and
you know, I
hope
don't
your
feel
daughters
very
will
proud
take
of them
some
necessarily.
Yeah.
They're not that
Yeah.
exciting, but I'm getting paid for them, and the people seem happy, and that's
Okay,
you know
well.
that's good too.
I like to have myself just on the edge of the knife, you know, just on,
Oh yeah,
you know, just yeah.
the edge of the knife.
And yeah, I think the best work turns out that way, and the worst works. You know, as well.
I mean, I guess I'm glad I'm not like overly passionate about stuff because you've seen how that turns out for people. I mean, you know, there's so many famous artists who are just so obsessed with their work that, you know, their family life and their wives and everything were just tossed to the wayside. And, you know, I wouldn't want to be that kind of person anyway. So, you know, look at, you know,
Like who?
Picasso or someone who just treated everyone around him like garbage, you know, and I don't know if you did, but, you know, you've heard stories.
That's what,
But, you know, like, you know, they're not good fathers, they're not great husbands,
Yeah.
you know, and because their art is the only thing that matters to them. And that's, they probably couldn't help that. That was just the way they were. But
Yeah,
I'm glad
yeah,
I'm
I
not that
think
way
so, yeah.
because, you know, I have a lot of other interests too, and so do you. I mean, I could just sit down and do Sudokus for 4 hours and be just as happy as I would be, you know, like,
Reading.
yeah, I
Well,
mean,
in a
it's,
sense, it's you know, it's creativity. I guess.
yeah,
that's
well,
kind of
it's
that.
keeping your brain going in different ways, and or you know, looking at plants or examining bugs, or you know, there's so many.
Conjugating Latin.
Yeah, or embroidering, you know, and
Yeah.
or even just hemming a
But
you
you
know,
like to
napkin.
do stuff with your hands.
I do. I love
Yeah.
sewing too, and that feels just as good too. You know, it's interesting. Well, that's an important thing to know about
Or
yourself.
even now, when I'm sketching all these sketches, you know, you can only do so many sketches of trees, and finally you get to the point where I'm going to sketch something else other than a tree. Or
Well, you kind of work something through your system and then get it out, kind of.
yeah,
And move
yeah,
on.
figure it out, and there's no reason to repeat it again.
Right.
Repeat it again,
Yeah.
unless you're doing it for the money, because you know each one
Someone's paying you
sells for.
$1,000.
I'd like to see you draw the buildings downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, I've been eyeing these and thinking, boy, that's quite a change for me to even think about drawing and sketching, that kind of thing.
I couldn't even get him to sketch stuff in Europe, buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just wasn't of
well,
interest.
with nice
Yeah.
old buildings that are sort of rickety and everything else.
In England, it was almost all trees or trunks of trees and things like that.
I couldn't see
What I'm
the
doing
appeal.
here is I'm trying to get myself into what you're suggesting, and by just sketching trees and have a little hint of a house over here. or
Build
something,
up to
you
it.
know.
Well, even like right here, there's all these patches
Oh,
of
yeah.
Yeah.
rectangles.
Exactly.
That go
Yeah,
behind
the
that
church
for-
thing
since
there.
the time we've been here.
It's
Thinking-
very modern.
Yeah.
It's like a
But
Hans
the
Hoffman or
contrast
something.
between the old stone church and then the modern buildings is really pretty interesting. You know, you could work up a pretty
I think
interesting.
one problem with modern
sketch.
buildings is that it's intimidating to think that you have to try and draw a straight line.
But,
If you
but
get
you don't
over
want
that,
it to be straight.
yeah, if you get over that
Mhm.
thing, oh no, it has to look exactly like what
The
you're
ones
seeing.
that are where
yeah.
they use a straight,
Okay,
they
so
just
right
are
there,
off.
So
So-
boring, yeah.
And
Oh, there it is. I was looking for that.
And here is a sketch done by a fellow whose name I never can remember. I can't read it. But anyway, it was the same house with nice straight lines.
Yeah, perfectly straight lines.
Yeah. I like his sketch, but it's too straight lines. Too many straight lines. for
He
me.
actually used a ruler or
Yeah.
something, probably.
Well, you tend to represent light more than linear.
Well, yeah, that might be part of it, yeah.
I mean, you can say represent light, but it is the effects of light.
But if I were sketching these buildings over here, other than the church, I wouldn't use a ruler, but you know, this guy apparently uses a ruler or something that keeps
Or
nice
it's just
straight
a
lines,
really.
and it looks probably the way the place really looks, rather than like this. But
So it says Tom W. Battles or Badles or something.
But I think the interesting thing that would happen here, if I ever got around to it, is that all these modern buildings is to have the contrast between the two
Yeah.
in a picture.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
That
Yeah.
thing, or vegetation.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
trees
it
or
softens
whatever.
everything up.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the light. I mean, right now you have direct light on one side of the building and shadow on the other, and then the highlights of metal. Things are very, they're very forward, and other things are really receding. Like this is all really sharp right here, and it's good light.
Well, it's
right
neat
now.
because you've got that, like from where I'm sitting, I see the smaller of the pyramid parts of the church,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
a tree right behind it. So you've got this pointy thing with all this ruffly stuff behind it, and then behind that apartment building or whatever with all those square windows, and it's kind of a neat little scene.
Well, I
right
think
there.
it could be done with these modern buildings, but I haven't quite reached the stage where I want to.
Where it's even like a draw for you. Yeah, you have to have that urge to do it.
Yeah. When let's see, what town were we in? Salzburg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we just had gotten to Europe, hadn't been there very long, and this I was having trouble sketching in Salzburg, and the town's full of, you've probably been there, all these nice little churches and buildings. And is Salzburg the right place by Salzfelden? Yeah, that's it. And then I was walking down the street, and there was a guy about my age, and he was sitting on the curb. It was a young American guy who spoke English, so I could talk with him. And he was sketching these churches, beautiful old Gothic or old churches, and he had them doing all sorts of real interesting things, And I thought, well, that's really, really interesting. And I was talking to him a bit about it. Do you have a reason for doing that? Is that you're saying something with that fact? Is it that churches are falling down, or maybe, or the whole place is collapsing, or something?
It is mine.
But no, he
Death
wasn't
of
doing
religion.
that. But
So it was all skewed, like.
yeah, he didn't. He made a point not to have any straight lines. I don't think in the whole picture probably said that to me actually, maybe. But
He didn't have an answer for you.
yeah, it was just really interesting.
Well, but you have an answer for everything you're doing?
No.
Do I
typically
have an
not.
answer for it?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody asked you about
Oh yeah.
that same kind of question.
I mean, usually if you did have an answer, it would be really, you'd be forcing the issue so much, you know. Oh, I do this because I'm making a stance about, you know, that just makes it boring, really.
Yeah.
It's better
Well,
to not know.
As my work got more abstract,
Mhm.
you know, and we were over in Eastern Oregon and went over our little trips over there, and this fellow said, well, you know, Frank, what are you trying to you know, why are you painting the cliffs like that? When, you know, look at them. They're all different. There's trees there, and there's what's going on here. And I said, well, I'm just using that as inspiration, but I'm not trying to copy it.
It's not a photograph.
Otherwise,
yeah.
I'd get my camera out and take a picture of it, and
Right.
take care of it. You wouldn't have to sketch it. But
Yeah, it's more of like,
yeah.
it's an inspiration. It's something that you feel when you're looking at it or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to remember that as an artist. I have a hard time not being literal when I do a sketch or something.
Not being what?
Literal, you know, like trying to draw it exactly the way it is. I need to practice more because it's boring to draw that way. But,
Yeah.
but I don't
Just
do
let
enough.
yourself go. Huh?
Yeah, I don't practice enough with that stuff.
You could like give yourself a year to just like every time you feel that impulse to just, you know, stop it and
Yeah.
do the opposite thing.
Yeah, that would be great practice. Well, we should work on that together, you and I.
Like Soutine.
Yeah, really neat. And he was just like a local hero too. He's a really neat guy. But one of the funny things is that he, in his early career, he had been just churning out like book covers for some company, you know, like paperback, just these horrible paintings that they put on. And I actually have an Agatha Christie that is like it's a Harry Bennett painting, and it's pretty funny. And it has nothing to do with the story within, you know, it's just like a woman on the phone. And
Do you suppose he was doing it for the money?
yeah, that was definitely, and I actually asked him about it once, like, do you remember this? He's like, oh my gosh, I made like thousands of those. How would I possibly remember? And
Go
I
crazy.
think did I get him to sign that? I meant to, but I never got around to it.
You did.
Yeah. A murder is
It was
announced.
just covers of books.
They're horrible,
are just, yeah, there's nothing.
They don't. The person obviously didn't read this.
No, they're not meant to at all. I mean,
This book I wanted
people
to
are just
show you,
turning them
Sally.
on.
They're,
that I'm reading.
they're meant to sell the book. I